Hi, this is Julie at Love's Beginning, and today I have a metaphor to share. Also, there is some playing going on in my house, some running around, so you'll probably be hearing that in the background. But when I'm giving a metaphor, it's always with the idea that what do I want to say about it? It's a handhold. So when you're like climbing up a rock wall and you're using a handhold to get from here to there, you leave it behind you. You don't try to hold on to it. You don't try to argue about it with anybody. You don't try to prove it's right. So you don't hold on, but it's a helper. So the concept I'm going to share with you is not something that I would ever argue is the absolute truth. However, it's a metaphor, and metaphors, oh my gosh, the house is shaking. Metaphors are helpful to us on the way out, on the way through conflicted perception into harmonic perception. So if you take this example in that sense, then you never have to argue with it or convince anybody of it or think it's really real, but it will still help you. So when you're looking at what you perceive to be separate bodies, perceivers of a world, it seems as though you are sharing one static world, right? That is the world out there, and we are all perceivers in it. And it seems as though then all of us are subject to the conditions in that world. So if it rains on all of us, we're all subject to those conditions. In a sense, we're helpless against those conditions. We're victims to conditions. We're very accustomed to seeing it that way. But we're getting an invitation as individuals and as a collective to allow the perception to shift. So here's a metaphor that helps us as we're allowing our perceptions to shift. And that is that there are as many worlds as there are perceivers. Or if you want to go a little deeper into it, there are as many worlds as there are perceived perceivers. Because who am I? I am looking out at a world that I am projecting. And in this world, I seem to see many, many perceivers. So if I'm still in the mode of experiencing the world as being filled with separate perceivers, which I am, I got a lot of separate perceivers running around my house right now. Um, then it would be helpful for me to take this example of there are as many worlds as there are perceived perceivers. And how will this help us in daily life? It'll help us with the idea of a merge, because whenever you feel conflict, let's say with another person, you're with another person and you feel something off for some reason. And before you leap to find an answer for it, in a defect in them, in a defect in you, in a defect in conditions or society or institutions, before you leap to find a cause for it that could be pinned to the physical, a body, a person, something seemingly in the world. If you just feel this tension that has come up, it is a clue. And it is a clue to what we're blocking out. Whenever we feel this tension, we're blocking flow. And this tension, you could call it jealousy, you could call it anger, you could call it awkwardness, you could call it any negative thing you're used to experiencing as negative. It's like it's this vibration, you can feel it. And we want to pin it outside of ourselves. I'm feeling this tension because that other person isn't enlightened. And isn't that just like the funniest word in the world? Enlightened. Because well, one way you can look at it is enlightened isn't just like I am and you aren't. And enlightened is enlightenment is something we do for and with each other. And we do it on the way out as our perceptions change. So whenever I hear the word enlightenment now, I want to laugh unless I'm thinking of it in the context of we're all helping each other. We're all enlightening our experience. We're all perceiving in ways that are more helpful than they've ever been. Then the word enlightenment Doesn't make me giggle. But if it's being used to claim like this one is and this one isn't, and oh my goodness, this is a really good example, because before I made this video, my daughter is having a sleepover with her friend and my 3-year-old twins are playing with them. I said, I'm going to make a video. So if you could maybe just not shriek right outside the door. And that is exactly what happened, right? Listen. Right outside the door. Right on cue. So I mounted a defense, right? I mounted a defense no matter how mild and no matter how reasonable it seemed. Don't do this thing. And what happens? Exactly that. So that's a good example. Sometimes I think I can ask for just one thing, and could I just hold away one thing? And no, not usually. Girls, is it little ones?
Little one and
okay. Do you need me right now? Because I'm making a live video and I'd like to finish it. That's okay. Okay. we can keep going. So anyhow, let's go back to the perceivers and the tension. That'll work. So the tension comes up and we think we want to blame it on someone or something else. But really, it's an opportunity to allow, in one sense, worlds to merge. So let's say you're with this other person, you're feeling this tension, you're with them, and you want to pin it to a cause in your world. But if you don't give in to that temptation, something very interesting can happen. You can be there with them and allow, it's hard for me to get this in words, so bear with me. I'm like feeling it and receiving it, and I have experienced it. Now I'm just trying to put it in words. You can allow your worlds to merge. The perceptions can be so different, and there's tension if I'm trying to project out on you, almost like my world, my perceived world is in competition with your perceived world. You can feel that tension when you're in a discussion with people and there's just any stress involved in it at all. You can feel that pushing and pulling, and it's my world, not your world. It's my view of the world, not your view of the world. You subscribe to my view of the world. It's all about perception. But if we kind of ease into underneath the personalities, well, it's always an opportunity for healing. So if I feel any tension, if I feel any temptation to pin that tension on the perceived world, I'm going to stay stuck in that perceived world. But if, on the other hand, I use that tension as, I'm delighted to see that it's sticking its head out, like, oh my goodness, this is our shared dysfunction. I feel it. It's sticking its neck right out there. It's not hiding. This is a beautiful time for, like, almost if you're trying to trap something, but not. It's like, it's a beautiful time to accept the healing that just makes it dissipate. And we always have helpful non-physicals all around us. When we're willing to let our thought and belief patterns change. And in those moments when we're experiencing tension, if we can get in touch with that willingness, that when we allow our thought and belief patterns to change, we cling to them because we think that's who we are, and we think we might die if we let go of them, because that's what our personality structure is made out of. It's made out of thought and belief about who I, the separate one, am. But really, when we let go of that, seemingly brick by brick by brick, we feel so much better. So as we go deeper into this, and so we're feeling tension and we're experiencing the opportunity to heal, and we're in touch with our willingness to accept that healing, to allow our thoughts to change, to allow our beliefs to change. We don't know how yet. We're just going to allow things to change. We're all about wanting change in our lives and other people in the world. This is actually not how change happens, but how we get to what we really wanted. When we want things to change, people to change, the world to change, we want to feel peace. And that's how we get to that. So using the metaphor of allowing the worlds to merge, I go deep into this healing, and then I access the light that I am instead of making about the world or someone else or a defect in me or something. I just go right down to what I am. And what I am is what the other person is. So, and the other one's not a person, that one's a being. So I go right down into our shared beingness. And then from there, they might feel invited and they might settle into it with us. And we might settle in with each other in a sort of space that feels deep, peaceful, harmonious, shared. That's the point of every interaction. What appears to be every human interaction is an opportunity to go into this shared space together. It's not an opportunity to dominate, although our human identity thinks so. It's an opportunity to get something. Oh, I still experience that. I see the invitation to let go of it, to get our way, to, it's a letting go of all that. Really, every encounter is an opportunity to go into this shared space and just be there and enjoy it. And when we allow that, it seems that the world I'm projecting and the world the other person is projecting, they merge. We don't feel this tension and conflict anymore. There is no world, in a sense. When we're having a moment of peace together, there is no world. The world can't give us anything. There's nothing we want. There's, when we're in a very deep state of peace, there's no reason for it. We don't need it for anything. Because when we're really in touch with what we are, we don't need to project a world to work things out. This is going a lot deeper than I thought it would. So, sometimes when I'm saying things, it's not what I'm living yet. I feel like I've just only touched on this. I've just only started to touch on this. So it's deep and it's sweeping and it's transformative. It seems to be transformative, but it only ever is a return to what we are. So it's always very simple. It's always just a settling down into what we are and a realization of that and a recognition of that and appreciation of that. So why do we go to war with each other, either an argument or an actual war? It's because we're all projecting out all these different worlds, and all these different worlds are kind of thundering against each other in conflict with each other. And when they merge, when we allow the perceptions to the worlds to merge, it has something to do with telepathy too. If you experience that, when you get deeper down into this place where you see what you can do, the telepathy gets stronger. And when the telepathy gets stronger, your sense of what's going on with the other person, the being, person's the gift wrap, the being is the truth. But your sense of what's going on in their story, it gets stronger. And as it gets stronger, there's a temptation to, well, you have more data. And if you have more data, you might struggle more to please them, which would be a bad idea. You might struggle more to dominate them, which would be a bad idea. So it's almost as if we're entrusted with greater ability, but at the same time, only when we see how it should be used. So if I have a greater sense of what's going on with another, even about the thoughts they might be having at this very moment, the data is supposed to be used to sink into and share our beingness, our being. And who, in a sense, whoever gets there first will light up with that being and invite the other one there. So I say worlds merge, and it seems like that. And I've talked about timelines merging. It's the same thing. It's like the perceived world, the perceived experience. Um, but a simpler way of saying it is whoever gets there first, seemingly, to our shared beingness, to the place where we meet, just lights up, and the other one goes there too. The That's what it seems like. It's a reflection. So the other one, as a we're projecting. The other one is part of the projection, and they seem to us to be other, but they're always reflecting back to us. They're reflecting back to us either the joy we are or the healing that's available for us now. So if we're feeling any lack of peace in their presence, it's just our opportunity to return to where we are. And where we are is, what do I say? It's being. It's light filled. It's love. It's beyond all concept. It's very simple. It's easily forgotten about when I get caught up in a concept in the world I am projecting. I like to take responsibility for that. And I like to notice because I do every day get caught up in concepts. But now the ability to see that is better, it's stronger. And the ability to see this kind of whirling around in the hamster wheel, it's stronger. So any abilities we get, they're there for a reason. And when we use them in a way that's truly beneficial to us, the only way to use an ability in a way that's truly beneficial to you is, or to me, is to use it on behalf of peace. And when I go to peace, everybody else gets called to peace and has an easier pathway to peace. So that went much deeper than I thought it would. I hope you had a good week of learning and going deeper and letting go. It can be really intense sometimes, but whatever circumstance is there, it's definitely for us, and it's definitely very helpful for us and for everybody around us. So thank you and take care.